I believe Nation, happy Thursday. Thursday, I had to think of what day it was. Thursday is my public facing day. So I spend the whole day doing interviews, podcasts. I had movement makers this morning, which was super fun. Just basically putting on my extrovert hat and trying to spread the message as much as possible. I think having one day per week to just focus on outward facing things really helps me. As someone who's introverted and takes a while to kind of get things going, I find that just staying in the extroverted energy makes things a lot easier. So welcome everybody. We're on a special time because I have a special guest coming in who I'm gonna wait to see in the chat. Sam in the house. Welcome, Sam. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Sam's working on some fun email stuff for us. So tomorrow, right, Sam? Tomorrow we get to see it. Rosie in the house. Carol, Yuko, Alok, Joyce, Lynn. Welcome aboard. Having that one, oh snap, Drew Hitchcock. Drew's doing his 72-hour fast. I love it. He's on his way. It's going to be super exciting to see. He hasn't done a fast in at least a year, so it's going to be fun. Alex, Saiyan in the house, trying to dance salsa. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. So yeah, like having one day per week where I can just focus on interviews and spreading the message. So I had movement makers this morning. I just finished the session with a summit called Islandpreneur, helping entrepreneurs in the Caribbean build their businesses up, which is tons of fun. Then here live with you guys, and then more stuff afterwards, just nonstop, which is great. I don't have to worry about YouTube. I don't have to worry about my team. I don't have to worry about any of the other projects I have going on. All I have to do is focus on what I have done for today. And I find that this is really important, guys. If you ever feel like you get to the end of the week and Monica's very excited. Hi, Evan, says Monica. Welcome aboard, Monica. If you ever get to the end of the week and you feel like you didn't get anything done, like you worked hard, you worked a lot, you spent a lot of hours, but you didn't get anything done. Mel Abraham in the house, welcome. It's because you're switching between energy states too much. You're doing too much of this and then that and then this and then that and this and that, and you never actually get into the flow on anything. Where if you can try to stay in the flow as much as possible, it really helps. It really helps. It really helps you stay productive. Really helps you just not lose energy. It really helps you be more creative, more productive. Beau is in the house. I love it. Jasper in the house. Man, you guys are epic. I love it. We got some fun people here. Okay, I see Mark in the house. Hold on, Mark. Let's bring Mark in. We're gonna have a fun chat. Some wisdom out of Mark. You're gonna love this guy. And there he is. Dun, 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 dun. I love it. The horns. I love it. Mr. Mark Randolph in the house. Man, what to say about you? I mean, I guess the co-founder of Netflix, but advisor, entrepreneur, nature enthusiast. He's got an awesome book and a podcast, That Will Never Work. And we're going to have some fun together. Welcome aboard, man.
Well, thanks, Evan. Pleasure to be here. You forgot humble and lovable, kind of like.
Let's dive into that a little bit, because, as I was watching your stuff, obviously everybody says, well, co-founder of Netflix. You've done so much since then.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I'm not going to sit in my laurels after that. It's a compulsion thing. You can't sit still. I mean, so many people think, oh my gosh, if I ever have a big successful company, I am so done. I'm going to play golf. I'm going to go sit in the beach someplace. But the exact same things that lead you to work hard on a startup make you incapable of sitting still. You just want to go back and do that thing. It's so fun figuring something out,
And then in looking at all the startups you've either created or invested in or helped in, and then just the other things that you're proud of with your work in nature, or even just staying with the same wife for all these years and having a relationship with your kids, and like all the stuff that so many entrepreneurs maybe struggle with. If you fast forward to 30 years forward and you're still doing this, what do you hope is the introduction that you get on a show like this?
Oh God, that's a great question, Evan. I guess what I'd love to say is that I'd love to say, if Evan, you said, hey, I'd like to bring up Mark Randolph. Listen, he had a whole bunch of entrepreneurial stuff he did, but fundamentally, what's incredible is how many people he's helped do the same things that he did. I can point to 50 or 60 people who've all were just sitting there on their butt, and he inspired them to get going and actually take that idea and do something about it. If I could do that, I would look back and say those last 30 years were awesome.
All right, I'm taking notes. I'll see you in 2050. We'll be doing it in holograms, beaming into each other's living rooms. That'll be fun. Because I think just in watching some of your stuff back, I think people don't honestly even give you enough credit for all the new stuff you've done. It's just always, oh, well, he co-founded Netflix. Let's talk about your book and your show, That Will Never Work. I think it's probably one of the biggest problems that entrepreneurs face is they're the crazy ones, and then they get this idea and they go downstairs and they tell their family or they tell their friends, and that's the first response is, Mark, you're crazy. That'll never work.
Yeah, you got to take that as a good sign, Evan, because you see, if you actually do that, if you wake up in the morning and you come rushing down and you tell your spouse or your roommates or whoever that, and they go, that'll never work. What it means is you've probably stumbled onto something which actually hasn't been tried before, because that's what you're looking for.
So do you use that as a trigger? That if other people say that means I have to do it because they said that?
No, not in some inspiration, not in like okay, I'm gonna prove them wrong. It's not like that. It's more recognizing that it doesn't mean anything. It's a natural part of the process. Of course, have I heard that will never work? Oh, there it is. Okay, let's just keep going. Because the reality is, what I've learned by 40 years as an entrepreneur is that there is no such thing as a good idea, which I know is like contrary to what you always hear in brainstorming sessions. And, oh no, there's no such thing as a bad idea. That's bullshit. They're all bad ideas. Because what our job is as an entrepreneur is to recognize that this initial thing in our head is a bad idea, and that the only way we're going to figure out why it's a bad idea is by trying it, by starting it, by doing something, by testing something or selling something or making something. That we have to go through that process. And that what so many people do is they're looking for the good idea. They're waiting for the one where they tell their friends, they all go, that's amazing. But it doesn't mean anything. It's not a good idea. I promise, whatever your idea is, it's not a good idea. The whole way an entrepreneur does this, every single successful startup that you know about is not successful doing the thing that entrepreneur originally had the idea for. It's because they started, realized how stupid the original idea was, and listen, we can go back and talk about it, but Netflix was no different, and said, oh, okay, that didn't work. What do I try next? What do I try next? And then if you're lucky, through this period of meandering and trying lots of stuff, maybe you'll eventually land in the thing that, lo and behold, does work. But it only happens if you take that first step and go, I don't care whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm going to try it anyway, and let's see what happens.
It's fun looking at some of these big businesses and looking at their original business plan.
Yeah.
Because it's just so off compared to what they actually became most of the time.
Well, what's cool is that when you actually get a chance to talk about this process, because what I learned, listen, back at the very beginning, even with Netflix, so a journalist comes up and goes, oh, Mark, where did the idea come from? And if you launch into that, well, actually, there's a bunch of people involved. We tried this, and their eyes glaze over. They want to go on to the next question. And so pretty quickly you fall back to okay, I'm going to come up with a one-liner, oh, it's because of a late fee in a movie. And it's fine. It's emotionally true. It resonates, but it's not how it really works.
Yeah.
We love that. Listen, I'm no different. You'll love that glorified epiphany moment where the light bulb goes off and it's all clear. What's the one about the two guys can't in San Francisco, they can't make the rent, so they go, let's put a air mattress down in the spare bedroom, and boom, like there's Airbnb. Or I guess the other one is, I can't get a cab on New Year's Eve, and then boom, there's Uber. Or late fee in a movie, and boom, there's Netflix. And no, it does not work that way. It works by going, I have this idea, and then someone else goes, yeah, but how about this? Someone else goes, how about this? And then we try it. Oh, crap, that didn't work. Let's go this direction. Let's go this direction. It's messy. It's incomplete. It has lots of people involved, but when it comes together, that's the most thrilling thing in the world.
What I love about your message is you are pushing people to action and giving them permission to mini fail and not to work out.
Oh, yeah, I love two things you said. I mean, certainly I love the permission to fail because, listen, it's human nature that we don't want to look like asses. You know, everyone who's learned a foreign language knows that you don't learn anything unless you open your mouth and you're willing to sound like you're a 5-year-old, even when you're like 40 years old going and ordering coffee someplace. But listen, starting companies or doing anything which is new or a dream you have requires the mini part of it. This is practice. You know, now if I'm starting a business, yeah, I can raise large amounts of money. I can marshal lots of people. But that's only because I've been doing it for 40 years. But my very first efforts were tiny. You know, they were starting clubs. They were doing little passion project magazine stuff. I mean, I made these mistakes at a very, very small scale where I began to learn how do you make decisions? How do you get the confidence to move forward? So yeah, mini failure is the key. Don't think, you have this idea, okay, I've got to raise money. I've got to get a computer science degree. I've got to finish school. I've got to quit my day job. Listen, I've heard every single possible excuse and they're all bullshit. You know, the trick is mini. So keep your day job. Do something at night. Start a website. Sell something door to door. Try it out in your friends. That's the way that is the path that leads to being successful as an entrepreneur if that's something that you're interested in.
When you're talking to somebody or coaching them, they've got all these excuses that they believe because they're plausible reasons. It's not some super made up one, but underneath is really just fear. How do you get them to see the fear and then move into action mode?
You know, you're touching on something which is much bigger, which is that the advice that sometimes you get from people like myself and from well-meaning entrepreneurs is a platitude in some ways. You know, don't be afraid to start. Well, thank you. You know, start small. Well, thank you. There's a real trick and there's an art to saying, how do I figure out how to test my ideas cheaply or quickly or easily? And pardon me here for doing the plug in a sense, but it's the reason I did my podcast, not as interviews with big successful entrepreneurs. My podcast is not baiting people and going, here's this person, because people like you do it so much better than I do it. But it's because I wanted people to see how I literally took someone who was struggling with an idea and how to test their idea and walk them through the process. These are mentoring sessions where I'll take someone who goes, I have this cool idea and I've been dreaming about it. And I go, let's cut the shit. Let's right now talk about how you can get started tomorrow. And we then brainstorm with their idea, what they could do to begin that learning process. It does not take money, does not take weeks, does not take a co-founder, that they can just do tomorrow. Listen, let's see, you have 2 seconds. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, go for it.
So there's this one young woman I met. She had an idea. Everyone's got ideas. And her idea was she wanted to do this peer-to-peer clothing sharing service. Basically, she goes, look, I have all these blouses I don't wear, that I have friends who have all these clothes. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a way, not just for us, but for everybody to come on this app and pick out other people's clothing? And I go, all right. I go, secretly, I'm going, it's a bad idea, but it's good. But who knows? It could be a great idea. No one knows anything. Let's figure out how to quickly and easily test this. And she was going, how do I raise money? How do I hire people in Kazakhstan to build the app? All the crap. Well, when I graduate? Oh, no. Listen, do you have a piece of paper? He goes, yeah, of course I have a piece of paper. Do you have a Sharpie? Yes, I have a magic marker. I go, great. So what I want you to do is write on the piece of paper, write down, do you want to borrow my clothes? Question mark. Knock! Exclamation point. And I want you to tape that to the outside of your dorm room as soon as we finish with this call. And I go, it's because what's going to happen is two things. One, no one's going to knock. Okay, great. You've learned something important right there. That this dream, there are thousands of people who want to borrow your clothes is false. Or better, someone knocks. Fantastic. Now you're going to find out the next thing. They're going to come in your room and you're going to see, are there problems with size, with taste, with fit? Now, let's say those things work. Now you're going to find something else, which is how do you feel when that favorite blouse of yours comes back stained, or that you have to now have dry cleaning, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you're going to find out all those things tomorrow, and you're going to find them out with a pen and a piece of paper. That is the process that an entrepreneur goes on. And being able to walk someone through how do I get started makes it real when you say, stop thinking and start doing. But it goes, here is how to start doing. It does not need to raise money. You don't need a co-founder. You don't need all that stuff. You just need to be clever and creative to figure out a way to quickly, easily, and cheaply try your idea out in the real world. And that's, I do that a lot on the podcast, as well as all the other stuff people bump into, problems with co-founders, how to find work-life balance, how to avoid, my idea is going to get stolen. You know, all these things that everyone thinks they're the only one wrestling with. And in fact, lots of people are struggling with.
Talk about the move from building businesses, which you're still obviously doing, but to advising, investing, mentorship, even the book. The book you can kind of see behind you. That will never work. There it is. You guys will pick it up.
What? Oh, I didn't even know. How did that get there?
There it is. The podcast, same name, That Will Never Work. So like there's a shift from, hey, just being in the operations to now wanting to help inspire, motivate, mentor, coach, whatever you want to call it, other entrepreneurs. Talk about that shift.
All right. At the risk of sounding like a complete ass here, I learned this on Richard Branson's private island. How's that for a great intro to a story? No, it's quite literally, seriously, I do some speaking, and I was invited by his charity to come and do a brief presentation at this event. And the event was called Finding Your Purpose. And I'm going, purpose, schmurpus. I'm just going to go and do my bit, and then my wife and I will spend 3 days on the beach. And it turns out these were all a conference for very successful female business owners who had achieved tremendous success. And we're going, what now? What do I do with this? And so I went, and my whole presentation then was, listen, how do you take ideas you have, and then how do you quickly, cheaply, and easily find out whether they're valid or not? So I went and did my thing, and I go, I'm going to sit around and see what this purpose thing is all about. And I was totally sucked in. And like 3 hours later, my wife goes, where the hell are you? And I go, sit down, sit down. And then she's drawn in. The point is, I realized I was going, what's my purpose? You know, listen, I can now get up and do a speech, and I'll get 10,000 people to listen for an hour, but what's the point? And I realized, and here comes the punchline, the point is that in 40 years as an entrepreneur, I've learned all this stuff about how to take an idea that's in your head and make it real. And more importantly, those same tips and tricks don't just work for businesses. They work for anybody who has some crazy idea they want to try. And that moment I go, that's my purpose, is to help unlock people, to give them the whack on the side of the head, to give them the tough love that says, if you have this idea, if you have something you want to do, if you want to be an entrepreneur, then for God's sake, let me help you start doing it. It's been this amazing thing for me. And that guided now why and how do I accept speaking invitations. It's for that. It's why I wrote the book, to try and put this into a written form about how these things came into practice in my life and how they could in other people's life. It's why I started the podcast, was to try and show people, to mentor people live so other people could listen in. So I still need my own fix. I still work with other early stage entrepreneurs in a very deep way, which is not altruistic. I mean, yeah, I try and help them be successful in their business, but I'm trying to get that fix for myself as well, where I get to sit around the table with the super smart people and solve really interesting problems. And it's wonderful that it works out for both of us.
One of the big things that I've been pushing a lot of my bigger friends, like Brendan Bouchard and those guys, I think one of the biggest opportunities for this year, next year, is live coaching, where most people who are making YouTube videos are just talking direct to camera and saying, here are the 8 ways to do X, Y, Z, which is great. But I think the biggest opportunity, if you're good at coaching, is to actually show me you coaching. Like, let me see somebody come in with a bunch of problems and limiting beliefs, and then if you're good at what you do, you unravel them, and holy cow, I didn't even see it that way. I love the premise of the show. Why is it not a video show?
Well, listen, let's see this here. That's a sign that I'm 63 years old. And listen, but I'm a learner guy, and I push myself very, very hard to try and stay fluent. So you walk before you run. And I go, I'm going to learn this podcasting gig. Because I think it is I think exactly what you said. Everyone's going, Mark, God, you should do a podcast. You know everybody. You should get on the, founders. You should do a version of how I built this. Someone's done how I built this, and they do it way better than me. I go, I want to coach. I want people to see how I coach. I want them to listen in. So I wish I had talked to you like 5 years ago, because it would have saved you some time. But I'm learning that mechanism. How do you make this engaging and interesting and have the right guests so that people recognize they're not alone, and they learn, and they're inspired, but they're also entertained to some degree. But right now I'm doing the simple version, which is I'm just dumping it onto YouTube. I could learn so much from you about how to then make that more engaging. So you can watch them, but right now it's just watching two heads on a Zoom screen. But there's got to be a more powerful way, and we'll get there. I'm also doing live coaching on Clubhouse now. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, I do an hour-long version of coaching real time, but of course it's audio. But my whole process, now we'll go meta on you here, is that when I want to launch something, again, I do not go think about it. I don't go, oh, what a great idea, and dream up this incredible, we'll have a studio, imagine it'll be on TV, I'm going to take a quick, cheap, and easy way to start. And for me, for the podcast, I'm just going to begin recording the mentoring calls I do anyway. And I did that for about a year, making all these mistakes of figuring out what makes it good. And then I go, okay, I've learned enough that I'm ready to embarrass myself in public. And I talk about that. I do this stuff unfully formed because I'd rather collide it with reality early and learn that way. I have a team of people who help me, and I'm always going, stop debating this. Let's just try it next week. It's so fun. I mean, even the Clubhouse, which is this brand new medium that no one can say, oh, Mark, listen, I've been doing real-time audio Clubhouse type stuff for 20. No, you haven't. The thing launched in friggin' April of last year. We're all getting to figure it out together. It's fantastic. So you're right. It's incredibly promising. I'll get there, and you'll get to watch me totally mess it up in person.
Well, listen, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help anytime along the way. I just think because of where you want to go, YouTube is the only place for your content lives forever. And because what you're doing is so timeless, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that interview, that coaching session you did is still there, is still valuable, is still a memory and a lesson for people, the next generation, even though, something like Clubhouse, it just disappears. It's just a moment in time. What we're doing here is meta. Like, this is an Instagram live video that I'm going to cut and put to my YouTube channel, and it'll get a couple 100,000 views on the YouTube side. This is an easy way to do coaching.
Yeah.
We're just swapped. You go on top, and your student comes underneath, and then you show up and coach them, and then you turn it into a YouTube video. No,
it's fantastic. Yeah, I started off this little piece by talking about this, and I'm old, and it didn't come naturally to me, but I love it, and I love how quickly you can iterate using these mediums. And you're absolutely right. Even just watching how it is meta. I'm watching how we're doing this and going, this could be a very, very powerful way to do it. Because at first when I was doing the podcast, you go, the podcast is nice because it's non-live. I mean, it's live, and I'm doing a real call, but I can make a mistake, and the dog can jump up and knock over the microphone, and I can go back and cut that out later. But doing Clubhouse, although it's not preserved, what's wonderful is it's given me the confidence to walk the wire, that someone can call in, and I've now become comfortable that I can almost always find some way to help them move a little bit further in their journey on the spot, which means doing something like we're doing now, it might be a perfect way to do that. Let people watch it live, listen to it live, but then begin to say, we can save this. Yes, here you go. This is a coaching session from you to me.
Well, there you go. But I think, if any, you're the guy for that, because your message is not be perfect. Don't launch until everything's everything's ordered and everything has to be fancy edited. You're the, I'm going to do it. It's going to be messy. I'll figure it as we go. And my dog barked. Okay, next time I'm going to put him in the kitchen. Like that's part of the learnings.
It's one of the things I learned about the social media piece too. Like Gary Vee actually was beating me on me about that. And he goes, just if you have an idea, stop thinking about how good the presentation is. Just grab your phone. I don't care where you are. I don't care how noisy you are, what you're wearing, whether you're shaved or not. Just talk into the phone and say the idea. Get it out there, because that's 98% of the value. And the production stuff is great, but by only saying I'm going to do 100th of how much content because I can get that perfect, you've totally missed the point. And I think that's kind of what you're saying too. It is. It's very startup-y, and I should walk the walk that way too.
I love it. Well,
we're all learning together. We're all learning together.
Yeah, this is great. I love it. So we got what, a minute left. What's a final message you have for my audience on Instagram, on YouTube? Listen,
as hard as this is to believe, I'm not that much different than most people out there. I'm certainly not smarter. Maybe I work a little bit harder. I have an undergraduate degree in geology of all things, so I'm not like I'm some super guy. I've just learned the value of trying stuff. I've gotten over my fear of starting. I've gotten over my hesitancy to do things that people say don't work. And if you can master that one skill, the skill of starting, all the rest of it is easier. So if I could say one thing, it's stop thinking and start doing.
I love it. Mark Randolph, everybody. The book and the podcast are both called That Will Never Work. Stay tuned for the YouTube channel coming soon. We'll link all that stuff up for YouTube in the description below. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the time. Thanks for coming on, the wisdom, the permission to be stupid. And I think you're on to something big here.
Fantastic, Evan. Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Much love. Take care.